Okay, and like that, we are live on Twitch. So I am going to be working on writing up a software slash game design document. My friend Dylan and I are going to work on a retro style Dragon Ball Z themed, for now, um, a retro fight game, for lack of a better word. I'm not sure exactly what we're going to call it here, so we're going to give this a title. Retro. Actually, I will be right back. Okay, sorry about that. Susan had to answer the phone, and so I figured I'd just pause the stream while she did that. So let's see. We're gonna give this a title. We're gonna just call it Retro Dragon Ball Z themed fighting game. Okay, let's make that the title.
So I have to watch I forgot my glasses out there.
I don't know how to spell Dragon Ball Z. Is it Dragon Ball hyphenated Z? Dragon Ball Z. Okay. Just 2 words. Dragon Ball Z fighting game. Okay, general description. Okay, so we basically want a retro pixelated fighting game in which 2 players battle each other using a variety of mechanics. Punching, kicking, blocking maybe, special abilities, etc. And probably we're going to have to scale it back because because I'm new at this. That's why. If I have a chance of getting it done, I'm going to scale it back. Okay, so let's see here. Let's make that the heading. Technology. Okay. Actually, I want to look at Pico 8 here. The game will be implemented in Pico 8, which is a programming, how do we put this? Which is a virtual console for developing retro pixelated games. Just make a list here. Let's see. Frequently asked questions. What? I forget the name of the language that this uses. It's like Lua or Luo. just looking up some Pico 8 resources now. Lua. Okay. Pico 8 uses the Lua programming language. Let's see. And where can you post these games? They can be virtual cartridges. I think they can be posted on websites. Let's see what we can find out here. Okay, export to HTML5. Pico 8 games can be exported to HTML5 for use on websites, etc. Pico 8 games can virtual game cartridges, which are basically PNG files, which is weird. It's interesting that it stores the cartridge as an image file. Let's add visuals here.
Kim will have, I'm gonna have to start the printer. Is it
Oh, that's
gonna
fine.
be okay?
Yeah, just move that
Oh,
wire.
thank
It's not
you.
your way. Sorry, I'm just head down working on this.
I get it.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so visuals and graphics. Pico 8 games have a resolution of 128 by 128 pixels. Obviously not tiny pixels, kind of chunky pixels. Let's start a list here. Let's see, how many colors? We can have a maximum of 16 colors here. Joint has its own retro style font. I'm not sure if that's changeable or not. I suspect it's not. I like the limited size of the display. It makes it easy to program, probably. So let's call this layout. What's the layout of the screen going to be? Characters will be small, 8 by 8 or 16 by 16. I think 16 by 16 will be too big. Sprites with versions for punching, kicking, etc. Sounds kind of obvious, but you do want to state the obvious in making a design document like this. Okay, screen layout. What is the overall layout going to be? The game action will take place in the bottom 2/3, approximately, of the frame. Let's see here. Stats, points, character info, life info, etc. I don't have all this worked out yet. Etc. will be displayed in the top third, approximately, of the frame. Oh, see someone's viewing. Hello, whoever you are. Thanks for tuning in. A friend of mine, Dylan, and I are working on this retro-themed game that we've conceived and have some sketches of. A very simple retro fighting game inspired by Dragon Ball Z. Which I've never played, any of the Dragon Ball Z games. I know almost nothing of it, so getting a Dragon Ball Z educational at it. And obviously Dragon Ball Z is trademarked, so we can't, sell a Dragon Ball Z game, but we're just kind of using that as inspiration for the moment. Okay. I'm not sure this needs its own heading, but I'll just give it one for now. Player 1 and player 2 should be able to select their respective characters / avatars to use in the subsequent fight. So obviously you need some way to select which character you're going to play with. Some of these things sound obvious until you when you forget the obvious, you realize it quick, like, oh yeah, how does the player choose which character to play? Oh yeah, I gotta figure that out. Gotta program that. Doesn't build itself. Okay, playing field. The bottom 2/3, approximately. I already said that above. It's okay. The playing field consists of tentatively. Seven by 4 invisible grid. Maybe visible. I'm not sure yet. Which the two avatars, or it's called fighters, which are fun, can move in any direction. It sounds obvious too, but we're going to say it. Players cannot, or fighters. Fighters. Yeah. Fighters cannot overlap and cannot move through walls. Game logic. Here's where things get a little tricky because a little show and tell here. Dylan has sent me some very helpful mock-ups of what the sprites might look like, including their punching and kicking version, which is awesome. Check this out. Really beautiful stuff. Can't wait. Again, I'm not familiar with these characters, so I have to kind of learn them as I go. But actually, let's do controls first. That's a little easier to understand. Okay. Players, actually fighters, may move up, down, left, right. No diagonal movement. Let's see, we want to support, I think they're called 6-button controllers. So it'd be the 4 buttons on the right side and then the 2 bumpers on top of a normal controller. So let's see here. Movement is accomplished. Actually, can be made by keyboard or game controller. Up, down, left, right. Ooh, actually, let's rephrase this. Arrow keys or game controller. It's called the D-pad for direction. I think it's called the D-pad. If I remember my gaming parlance here. Let's see. So I think I read that Pico 8 supports 6-button game controllers. A, B, X, Y, left bumper, right bumper, etc. I can spell bumper. I misspelled it twice. Bummer. Bumper. Bumper. fight mechanics are controlled with A, B, X, Y, left bumper, and right bumper. Possibly in combination. I'm going to keep it simple though. So, again, this is my first. I've programmed some very, very simple games in retro systems. I used to program in BASIC, and I've done a little bit of JavaScript programming with p5.js, and this is my first time using this environment or this language, and so we're going to start small and see what we can strip out and keep this doable, so to speak. Keyboard controls for fight mechanics, TBD. Maybe function keys, number keys, function keys, etc. Okay, game logic. Here's where things get a little tricky because I've got all of these possible fight mechanics I need to look at. So let's see. What did Dylan send here? So, 4x8, not 4x7. Okay, yeah. Let's change that to 4x8. We don't know yet. 8x7. I'm sorry, 7x4, 8x4. We don't know which yet. Let's see what I can fit in 128 pixels with a border and everything to make it look nice given the size of the sprites. I need to tinker with that a bit. So let's go back and look at these screenshots. Okay, 4x8 game board. X represents player sprites. Yep. Basic button controls. Button correspond with Super Nintendo controller. So that we've got our X, Y, A, B, and maybe there's no bumpers on the Super Nintendo. I don't remember actually. I've never had one of those systems. I only had the original NES. Up, yep. Up a square, down a square. No problem. It's actually funny. Dylan's handwriting looks a lot like my handwriting. It really does. Like this could be my handwriting. It's funny.
Oh, well, mini you.
Yeah, exactly. Mini me. Okay, Y equals punch. Okay, well let's start just making a list here. Actually, you know what we'll do? We'll make a possible mechanics. Let's make a little sub list here. I can put all these in one place. Okay, Y equals punch. Sure, why not? I have no... There may be a standard way this is done in Dragon Ball Z games. I have no idea. If there's another player in the square your character is facing... Okay, I'm not going to worry about that yet. We'll worry about the game logic soon. I just want to see what the controls are. If there's a player in the square your character is facing and they do not block... Okay, so you need a block mechanic. Then they take 5 damage to their health. Again, I'm not worried about the numbers or anything yet. I'm just looking for what are the possible controls here. 5 consecutive punches. That's all going to go in game logic stuff. Okay, X equals launch. Is that K-Blast? Is that what that says? K-Blast? K-Blast. Okay, X equals launch K-Blast. Okay, I'm embarrassed to say I don't know what that means. But that's okay. We'll learn as we go. Never stopped me before. We're not going to worry again about the logic so much. We're just worried about the controls. A equals kick. Okay. Yeah, this is a little complicated, so I'm going to have to scale back some of the logic here. Equals grab. If If there's a player in the square you're facing and they're not blocking your grab, throw them 1 to 4 tiles in the direction your character's. Okay, so grab and throw. Okay, I'm not sure how that works. Is grabbing separate from throwing, or does it happen automatically? Is that a comment here? I'm going to start adding comments for open questions that I have. Insert, wait, where's the comments? It's been quite a while since I've used Google Docs here. Comment. Is this a separate mechanic? I hope it's the same thing here. Simpler to combine. Boom. Left bumper. Charge. Okay. I can't type bumper today. Equals charge. Okay. Right bumper block. Okay. Okay, so yeah, select and start. I'm not sure. I presume that Pico 8 also supports like select and start buttons on a controller. I will have to look into that. I'm not sure. I've only barely looked at the documentation. Because select equals transform. Can only transform where KI gauge, I don't know what that is 100% full. You can charge KI while transform. Transforming adds a transformation gauge. When the gauge hits 0, this is complicated, so I might have to scale this back a bit. So left bumper equals. Oh no, what do we say? We already have a left bumper. We're talking about the select button. Transform. I'm not sure exactly what that means, so okay. Start equals pause. We're not going to have much in the way of battle settings. That, I guess, is just going to get way too complicated if we start doing that. Start equals pause. Comment here. I'm not sure about pausing and updating game settings mid-game. Pause / unpause. Yeah, obviously you have to not only have to pause, you have to unpause it. Okay, so yeah, we have button combinations now here. Okay, let's see here. Combinations. There's a lot of these, but they look complicated, but they're not too bad because all you have to do is you do a bunch of if-then statements. If the left bumper plus the Y button is pressed, then do something. So the nice thing is you can generally add those in piecemeal. Okay, so left bumper plus Y equals, oops, wrong screen. Energy attack. Okay, I'm going to spell out all the consequences of these things in the game logic section. B plus direction. Gonna have no real iron in the fire on how on these controls. I've never played a Dragon Ball Z game, so okay. B plus direction, same as B, except the character is thrown in the direction. Direction press. Oh, is that how you throw after picking them up? I'm not sure what to make of that one. Same as B, except the character is thrown in the direction pressed. Add a comment here about that. Is this how? Is this the answer to my question above about grabbing, throwing? Left bumper plus, okay, we did that. Oh, wait a minute. I think I got confused here. Oh, yeah, okay, I missed a little bit. Okay, that's confusing. Left bumper plus direction. Oh, okay, yeah, I'm confusing two sections. That looks similar. Okay, let's back this up. Let's just start over here. Delete. Advanced button controls. Hmm. I'm going to mark that as TBD, because I'm just not sure what to make of these. These might be a little complicated for such a simple game. Left bumper plus direction. Okay, let's start there. Left bumper plus direction equals dash. Character moves in that direction at double movement speed. I'm not sure about that either since this is grid-based. But maybe move up 2 spaces instead of 1. Okay, again, I'm not going to worry about the minutia here. This is just a high-level document. Right bumper plus direction. Oops. Keep doing that. Right bumper plus direction. Change the... Okay. Change direction while dodging. I'm not sure if this is really a... I mean, I think you can do both of... I'm not sure this needs to be programmed separately, because if we program the mechanics the same, individually, the right bumper blocks and the direction changes the direction. Let's comment that. This may be covered by the individual button mechanics above anyway. Right, because if you're holding the right bumper, you're blocking, and if you're hitting a direction, you're changing direction. But maybe you can't normally move while you're blocking. See, it's all the questions you have to figure out while you're programming stuff. Okay. Left bumper plus X equals super attack. Okay. Left bumper plus X equals super attack. And we're not going to worry about what that means yet. I have no idea what a super attack is in Dragon Ball Z. B plus direction. Ah, yeah, okay. B plus direction equals... Same, okay. So here's my question now about grabbing and throwing.
Thank you for calling RMAI. My name is Susan. How can I help you?
I'm going to go on mute. Okay, I'm back. Susan is working from home right here, so she has to take the occasional phone call. So
Sorry.
that's okay. No worries. I just have to mute so confidential information doesn't end up on the stream.
Thank you. I mean, it's not really confidential. It's on the website.
Could be, though.
This is Azina. So, but thank you. I appreciate that.
Discretion, yes.
Discretion, exactly.
All right. X plus direction. Shoot Kai Blast in that direction. Shoot Kai Blast in that direction. All directions work. It's for not just left and right. That's good to say. Okay. Okay. Advanced combo moves. Okay, left bumper plus Y. I think there's nothing really distinctive here. We're just talking about combination moves. So I think we're just going to list these here. Left bumper plus Y. Energy attack launches in the direction the character is facing until it hits a player or wall. Yeah, okay. We can spell all that out in the game logic section. Let's just see what the controls do. Energy attack. Also kind of building a vocabulary here, and when programming, and a lot of these terms might be functions or variables, like energy attack. That might be a function that gets called. It does something, and I can spell out what that is, but we know we need to do it, whatever it is. So we'll probably write it as a separate function or something like a function. Okay. Okay, again, I'm not going to worry about the logic yet. Blah, blah, blah. Left bumper plus B. This is why I never really got into these kinds of games. I could just never remember all of these mechanics. All I do is button mash. I can never remember these combinations, so it's a different kind of mental skill than I've got. Rush attack. 6 squares. Wow, okay. Rush attack. So we need to define these terms and spell out the logic for them. But the nice thing is we can enumerate them and then write them up separately and program them separately and implement them separately. So if we want to add something, it's easy to add them as long as we make this really modular. Okay. What else do we have here? Blah, 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 blah. Okay, yeah, see there's a lot of left bumper plus A. Yeah. Left bumper plus A, special attack. Different per character. Okay. Left bumper plus A equals special attack. Varies by character. See, this is where it gets complicated because you have to program each of these. So you not only have to say if it's left bumper plus A, you have to say if it's left bumper plus A and I am the orange character, or if I'm left bumper plus A and I'm the green character, then do something. So a lot of conditionals and just a lot of conditional statements, basically. Right bumper, quick press. What is it? Quick press. So now we have a distinction between quick pressing and holding the bumper. I'm not sure if that distinction is going to be possible in... I'm sure it is. I'm not sure I know how to do it, is what I'm saying. In Pico 8, so... Counter. Counter an attack instead of blocking. Okay. Counter attack. Let's comment that. I'm not sure that I know how to distinguish between a bumper tap and a bumper hold. So 8 PB. It's one of those. Don't know if that's going to happen or not. Maybe it's just a well-timed press too as well. So we'll see. Okay, what else do we have? Y, then A. Punch kick has some knockback ratio, same knockback ratio as kick. Deals 10 damage, can be blocked, only a single punch. Okay. Y, then A. The problem that I see, just thinking it through already, again, to be determined, is that if one of these on their own, like punch or kick, knocks the player back, then by the time you hit the second button, they're already knocked back. So these might have to be Y plus A. So let's Y, then A. Possibly Y plus A. I think I like that a little better. It's easier to program, that's for sure. Punch kick. Okay, so just both abilities together. I like it. YYA. Let's see. Insert symbol. Symbols. Arrow. Why can't I? There it is. Okay. What does Y do? Punch. Okay. Need to look back and see if that knocks a player back or if it just registers the points. Punch, kick. Okay. Punch, kick. Okay. Y, then A. Wait. Oh, yeah. Okay. Y, A. I guess that'd be a punch, kick. It's like real fast. But again, we're getting a little down in the weeds here. I think a general comment about these. Comment. With these combo moves, if each move individually knocks a player back before subsequent buttons can be pressed. Okay, gauges. Yes, I like this little mock-up with the gauges. That's cool. Yeah, let's just call them gauges. Why not? Simpler. I like it. Okay, we're going to worry about the game logic later. Because I can spell gauges here. Because that's the part that looks like it could get awfully complicated. So as it stands right now, we can move up, down, left, right. We have some basic controls. You know, punching, kicking, cable, Kai Blast. Is it Kai Blast? Or something like it. Kick, grab, and throw. A little question about whether that is two separate moves or one move. Charging, blocking, transforming, so on and so forth. And then we have these combo moves. That's where we get some questions. Like the ones that are simultaneous, no problem. It's when they get sequential that might be a little complicated. So we're going to worry about the game logic in a minute. And let's do the gauges next. I see a couple people are tuning in. Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in. If you're just tuning in, I'm working on a retro Dragon Ball Z themed / inspired fighting game. And I haven't started anything yet. We're going to be using Pico 8 for it. And so I'm working on this design document that covers things like which technology we're going to use, what programming language, what are some of the constraints, like how many pixels on a screen, colors, the basic screen layout, things that sound obvious but easy to forget about, like how to select which character which character or avatar you're gonna play with, the constraints of the playing field, and all of this is just tentative. We're just like putting spaghetti on the page right now, and some of this might change, some might get deleted, simplified. Just taking these handwritten screenshots that my friend Dylan sent me, and I am not transcribing them because I'm not putting all the details on there yet, but I'm trying to get the high level picture of what this game is going to look like and how it's going to function. And then maybe later today I'll start working on programming some very basic elements of like getting a sprite moving around a grid, that kind of thing, if I get that far. So gauges, what do we have here? It's exactly what I had in mind. Gauges is very standard in a game, right? Gauges at the top of the screen. Let's make a list here. On the top left and right of the screen for player 1 and player 2. Obviously player 1 on the left, player 2 on the right. Okay, so let's see here. What are the different kinds of things we need to measure? Red gauge equals health. Blue gauge is Kai. Again, I don't really know what that means. I'm not familiar with Dragon Ball Z. Okay. Blue gauge equals Kai. So it's favoriting cross-stitch patterns. Okay. Oh, good news, my prescription is ready. So Walmart sent me a text about it, so I can go pick that up later. Okay, blue gauge is Kai. Yellow gauge is transformation. Okay. Love it. I like that these are nice and enumerable. Purple is the timer. Matches are timed. What's the,
Thank you for calling RMAI. My name is Susan.
I have to go on mute.
Help you.
Okay, now I'm back. So matches are timed, possibly customizable and or disableable. Yeah, I'm not sure about that. I think simpler the better, probably. Probably just need to find a time that makes sense. Or maybe just have two modes, a timed mode with a fixed time and untimed mode. Okay. It's easy to imagine how you might program that. Just have a behind the scenes, is this timed or untimed? And if it's timed, you got a counter, and the timer counts down. If it's untimed, there's no counter, and the fight just goes on and on and on and on. Ad infinitum. Okay, the orange circles represent how many. Okay, I can't make out that word. How many wins? Okay, what's the next? Oh, how many wins? Yeah. Matches best 2 out of 3. Okay. I didn't realize we were talking about 2 out of 3 here. Shaped like little 1-star Dragon Balls. Okay, so we do have to do the Dragon Ball thing. That's what makes it Dragon Ball Z. Okay. Matches are timed. What matches / rounds are timed? Okay. The winner is the best 2 out of 3 rounds. Okay. I'm trying to write that down before I forget to think about that. I didn't realize we were talking about multi-rounds here. That's easy. I think, you would start a round, someone wins or loses, timer goes off, or well, not the timer, I guess. I mean, I guess if you're tied, what happens if you're tied? They just iterate on it. Just have a little timer or a counter that keeps track round one. When that's done, display the little Dragon Ball star here, and start the second round. That's done. Display the second one. Okay, sure, we can do that. Why not? So that would be, what are we calling this? Orange markers. Little Dragon Balls. That's a phrase you hear in English very much. Little Dragon Ball. 1-star Dragon Balls. Number of rounds won by each player. What time do you want to take a lunch one though? It's already 12.
I need to kind of wait to see when Nicole or somebody is back online because I'm the only one to answer the phone. So I have to, I don't know, probably in the next 15 minutes.
Okay. I'm just going to work on this while you do that.
Okay.
Then we'll take lunch and go
Are
work
you
on
at
it.
a good stopping point or no?
I could be.
Okay.
I'm at the most difficult thing, which is fleshing out the minutiae of this game logic. I got a lot done though. I mean, look, it's got a little design document here. I need to make it prettier. It's very bland right now. But the hard part is like, if you punch and the player is blocking, then 10 points happen over here, and that the minutia of that is all the details that make it difficult. Okay, game logic. There shaped like one-star Dragon Balls, which are magical wishing objects from the show. Good to know. Magical wishing objects. That's what a Dragon Ball is. So before we start working on the logic, let's take a minute to admire these characters. Look how awesome these characters are that Dylan drew. Goku, so guy in orange and blue. Check him out. He's got orange and blue in his little 4-pixel outfit here. 6-pixel outfit, and this some sort of skin tone, 2 eyes. I'd say Dylan has a future in pixel art. Check these out. Aren't these awesome? These are really good. I mean, considering they're awesome. I could not have done that. So how many pixels do we have here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, so this might be a little tricky though, because I'm not sure how big the sprites are in pixel 8. So we might have to work on these a little bit. Is it Vegeta or Vegeta? Here's another one. Sorry, I'm distracting you. Check it out. He's got white gloves, so he's got little white hands. I love it. Piccolo. He's green and purple with little brown boots. Check him out. Frieza. He's got a tail. Maybe you can special attack with a tail or something. Kid Buu. Buu. Is it Buu or Boo? Yeah, he's got like a little. It's not like a mohawk. It's like a little appendage, like a tentacle from his head. He's got a little tentacle. Okay. And Gohan or Gohan. Kind of similar to Goku. Just different colors. I wonder what really distinguishes the two. They both have spiked hair, kind of robes as outfits. So really the colors and maybe the skin tone distinguishes the two. Yeah, I'm not sure about that. We only have 16 colors in Pico 8. And so how about punching? So, okay, so you can see it here, one little appendage comes out. Problem is, I'm not sure there's about the different colors of green. So I'll have to maybe work on these a little bit. Kicking, I like the kicking, that looks good. What else do we have? Oh, transformed. Got it. Then I have questions for Dylan. Part of what's fun about this design document is, you know, it raises as many questions as it answers. So it's nice to go through the process of asking these questions and getting a little clarity before you start working on some of these details. Okay, so transform. They turn blonde, so they get like Aryan eyes. That's terrible. Transformed. What's different here? Oh, okay. The base looks like. Okay, got a cape on and a turban. What is that? And then the gloves come off, so to speak, and lose the cape, lose the turban, and yeah, okay, I like it. Turned yellow. Okay. Transformed. Oh, I see. Yeah. But yeah, what's nice is the different color boots and stuff. So again, I don't really have any experience with this franchise, so there's some symbology here that I don't have any experience with. But yeah, so the purple's the timer. Got it. All right. Let's maybe start fleshing out the. Actually, does it say how many? Max of 150 health points. Okay, let's just plug this in. 150 max. So max 150. Kai. max of 100 Chi points. I wonder if we can get everything down to 100, just for make it easy. Yellow gauges doesn't really matter actually. Transformation worth 100 points. Okay, I'm confused about that because it seems like transformation was either an all on or all off thing. But there's transformation points, so I'm not sure what Dylan means by that. So I will have to ask him. Matches are timed. Timer. 99 seconds per round. Dylan, are you watching? You have answers to all my questions. You wanna join me in Discord? Are you watching? Join me in Discord. Only have a few minutes, but we have something we have to do on lunch. So let's see. Maybe you can join me real quick. If you're watching, Dylan, I emailed you a day or two ago with the Discord server link. If you can join right now, that'd be awesome. I'm going to do it. I'm going to jump in the voice chat. I'll jump in the Discord voice chat. Let's see here. Boom. Okay. Okay, Dylan may be joining us here. We only have a few minutes. We may be able to reconvene after lunch. Let's see here. Yeah, Discord shouldn't take too long to download. It's a small program. Small program. Okay. I think the nice thing about working on a design document like this is that it'll let you make things really modular. Like, you know, we know what environment we're going to use. Now it's like, okay, we know we're going to need a playing field, so let's build that. We know we're going to need players to move up and down and left and right, so let's get that working. And then we can start working on things like building the gauges up top, get that working. And then we can worry about all the hard stuff. It's good to front load the hard stuff, but sometimes, you know, if you spend too much time on that, you don't get the rest of it made. And some of it might fall off the tree, so to speak. Like these combo moves, I'm not entirely sure about those yet. But then you can always add in the players and start building the game logic, and you got most of a game there that you can look at. So I think I want to start by building the playing field, getting a couple characters moving around the screen, build the gauges, define all the variables for them and whatnot. You know, player 1 health, player 2 health, player 2 Chi, 1 Chi, player 2 Chi, player 1 transformation, player 2 transformation, so on and so forth. and then you can start fleshing out moves, just adding moves in one at a time. Starting with the basic ones, punching and kicking, and then we can start adding combo moves. And at a certain point, we might go, that's too complicated for such a simple game, and leave some of them off. But we don't know yet, right? That's part of the fun. But I was wondering while we're waiting for Dylan if you want to maybe take lunch a little bit later because they might be at lunch at the office. Might have to go like right after noon or something. Maybe take a slightly late lunch.
Yeah.
Just that we have half an hour or so to.
Yeah, that's probably true.
Which is fine because it gives us a few minutes to chit chat about this, and you can wrap up that, and then we can go have lunch and go to the office and see if we can figure it out. No problem. Okay, Dylan joined the Discord server, and if you're watching this and you haven't joined the Discord server, join the Discord server. Lots of fun. Okay, I want to look at this screenshot of these gauges again while we're waiting here. So health, Kai, transformation, and yeah, this is really straightforward. I love it. I actually kind of like the green lines. I wonder about making a visible grid as opposed to an invisible grid. Just telling Dylan. Oh, are you there? Hey, Dylan.
Hey, it worked.
Hey, awesome. You're live on Twitch with me.
Discord. Your Discord, yeah. We were still trying to figure it out with the Twitch side. Yeah, I couldn't get to chat. I had to have a Twitch channel, and for some reason, whenever I was trying to sign up, the sign up button was grayed out. It wouldn't let me click to sign up.
I have no idea. I have to figure that out later. So, yeah, how long have you been watching?
I had pretty much just got on like 5 to 10 minutes ago.
Okay.
Before I noticed the text. Probably like closer to 10 minutes before you noticed the text.
Well, I made a lot of progress. Can you see what I'm seeing? Are you watching the stream at the same time?
Now I'm on the Discord. Can you still hear me now, or did I just close out of the chat?
No, I hear you.
Okay, perfect. Now let me go back over
Yeah,
to.
maybe just open up the Twitch stream, and it might be a little bit of a delay, but that's okay.
I can hear me talking through the.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah.
There we go.
Perfect. So I've made a pretty good progress. I just wanted to start this design document, and so again, I don't know how much of this I already described, but I used to work for Cengage Learning, which was an education publishing company, and I used to work with software engineers to build little interactive widgets for my logic materials like interactive Venn diagrams and truth tables. And the first thing the software engineers would do is make a little design document, and they covers the general description and kind of what technology is being used, what are some of the constraints, and then what are the controls going to be, and just kind of flesh it out. And it doesn't have to be perfect. It's just to kind of give a rough skeleton of what are we building, and before they
Yeah.
start working on it. And it's really handy because it tells you in advance what your constraints are and kind of gives you something aspirational to shoot for, but also lets you make things really modular because you can go, okay, I know I'm going to need a grid, so I can build a grid. I know I need players to move around the grid, so I can build that. I know I need to implement these two different kinds of controllers, so blah 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 blah, and you can just break it down and make it really modular that way. So what I've got so far, let's see. So some of the obvious stuff we've talked about, like having a 7x4, maybe an 8x4 invisible grid that the players can move around on. Some of the controls. This is pretty much copied right out of your descriptions you sent me, but I do have some questions.
Perfect.
The first question that I had is grab and throw with the B button. Is that something that happens like automatically? Like when you hit B, you grab them and then you throw them, and it happens all at once, or are those two separate things?
Yeah, it's normally a both together kind of thing, but you have to grab them in order to throw them.
Mm-hmm.
And the grab is normally, which we don't even have to, I wasn't sure which controller we would have access to. I just wanted to start getting ideas out of my mind.
Yeah, yeah.
So
I
I
guess
just started writing
the
down.
thing that from my point of view, I've only built some really really simple games, so everything that's new for me is like, well, I hope I can figure that out. If
Yeah,
not, I might
exactly.
have to
I
simplify
have faith.
it.
Yeah, and I know that I went way more advanced than was necessary. It's just these were the first ideas I had, so I was like, I might as well just start getting stuff out of me.
Well,
So I just started writing down everything I was
where
thinking
it
about.
starts getting complicated for me, I think the combo moves where it's like if it's left bumper plus a
Yeah.
B, okay, no problem, I can figure that out because you can write a really
Okay.
simple if these two buttons are pressed, then do something. It's just a simple if then statement, no big deal. But where it gets complicated to me, I think, are these sequential ones where you hit YYA or YYYA, and my I guess my fundamental question there is. Again, because I haven't read everything in detail. Maybe the answer is already there, but since I've got you, maybe you just know the answer. Like if there's just a basic punch, and maybe this is standard in Dragon Ball Z games. Maybe it varies by game. Maybe you've got a preference. Maybe you don't. But let's just say the two players are next to each other, and one of them punches the other. Certainly, there's some points are scored, or the person's life gets taken down. But does the player get knocked back when they're punched? Is that normal, or does the player just stand there and be punched?
It definitely depends, but normally you'll end up kind of getting stuck, and you'll be either the one punching or the one blocking in these little square offs. And yeah, that's when you can land your combos, and you'll do like a bunch of punches in a row. And whenever you end on that kick, a lot of times you can send the other character flying.
Mm-hmm.
And then these characters can move so quick, basically, that they can just like launch them. They can just like teleport themselves to where they just launch the other player and then hit them again. And you can do like sequential combos. It's like very much a combo based fighting game because the whole show is like these guys just really love fighting and every chance they get, like somebody comes to fuck something up and these guys show up like, ooh, you guys are strong, let me fight you.
So again, I've
More
played
than
different fighting games, but I've never played the Dragon Ball Z one. So let's say again we're in 8-bit
that's
land here. So
perfect.
we've got our little 8-bit characters. They're
Yeah,
standing next to each other, and if you're just standing there, and I then punch you, and I want to do a punch kick, but I punch you once, and I'm anticipating punching you again. And what happens? Like how does the program know that I'm going to do a punch kick as opposed to just a regular punch?
it is kind of like the timing thing. Once you've pressed, I guess it wouldn't really know that you're going to do the combo. The
Mm-hmm.
combo is known after you've completed the combo, and it would just deal a little bit of extra damage on that final kick, and it would launch the character away. And
Gotcha.
the punches and kicks would still operate as normal punches and kicks throughout the
Oh,
combo,
okay.
unless you did the combo successfully in order, and then it would just deal a little bit of extra
I
damage.
see. I guess
But the punches and kicks would all operate as normal punches and kicks.
the big problem
And
I
a
was
lot of
worried about
times
was that if you punch and if the player gets knocked back when you punch them, then when you go to punch them
it's a
again,
kick now.
they're not standing there anymore. You can't punch them because they just got knocked back.
Yeah, that's why when we were talking at the bar or at the wherever Creekside. That's how I said it at first. Was the punch would knock back.
Mm-hmm.
But when I rewrote out these rules, I was thinking about that. I was like, that doesn't actually make sense. So the
Oh, that's good
punches
if you're all
don't
worried about
send
the
you
same
flying
thing. So,
anymore. But
okay.
yeah, perfect.
So
Right.
if you
But at,
if you manage to
so
if you manage while the player's just standing there, if you manage to punch them and say it's keeping track of how many times you've punched them. So you punch
yes,
them and it knows you've punched them once. You punch them, it knows you've punched them twice, and then you kick them and it goes, aha, a combo was just hit. Boom, do this extra thing, take away extra
yep,
points or
boom,
whatever it does, right?
yeah, exactly.
Okay, so
Take
that
away
answers that
the
question.
extra health.
I think I can actually just
That would be the whole thing,
delete that
actually.
comment now. So I got that. Um,
Perfect. Yeah, and then to keep you, because it would literally be like you get punched, you're also going to get phased a little bit. So, like, if whoever lands the first punch is basically going to get a combo off or get some sort of a punch off unless you block. And you can stay blocked throughout a whole combo, and someone can sit there and be trying to punch you, but you're blocking and not taking damage. But if you don't get the block, they'll get to do whatever combo they press,
yeah.
which is why I limited it to being able to punch 5 times in a row. If you do a sixth punch, on that sixth punch, you yourself get dazed. Like you basically steam yourself out, you like
Gotcha.
overexert yourself and you get
I
gassed.
guess
So
my only
that's
concern is
kind of a limiter.
I think what I'm going to have to do is probably start with the simple and aim toward and
Yeah,
be aspirational towards the more complex, like punching no problem, kicking
exactly.
no problem, grabbing and
Yeah, we
throwing
don't
no
need those
problem. Yeah,
combos right now.
charging, blocking, transforming, I can figure out. And then it's like even the 2 button ones, like right bumper plus the direction charge. Well, okay, I can figure that out. And then it's like, okay, now we're getting complicated. So all these edge cases,
Cool.
I just wonder how we get to how far I can get up down the list here and up the ladder of aspirational
Well,
before
that's
it's like that's
perfect.
too complicated and I can't figure that out.
I love to hear that because I was thinking that the 2 button things might be too complicated, and I was afraid I used too many buttons.
Oh no,
So
I
I
think
was
this is
like, yeah,
actually pretty
I was
easy
ready to
because
cut back so much.
what's probably happening behind the scenes is that the game is running and it's basically looping 30 times a second or maybe 60 times a second, however the program works, and then it's looking for button presses. And if it goes, okay, these 2 buttons are pressed, so you can write a conditional. You say if left bumper is pressed plus Y is there and you're next to the other player facing the right direction, whatever the conditions are, just spell it out. Then it's an energy attack, and then you have some function that you call for energy attack. And then if it's left bumper plus B, same thing. Is the left bumper pressed?
Cool.
Is the B button pressed? Are you standing in the right place? Is the other player in the right position? Then do a rush attack, and then you have a function for a rush attack that gets called, and you spell out what the heck happens. But you can make them really modular that way. So those, but what that says to me though is that when I get to these sequential ones, Y, you need a little variable that keeps track of how many punches in a row you've thrown before you do something else. And if you start doing something else, that gets reset back to 0 and it starts over again.
Exactly. Yeah, it would get reset every time if
Every
you
time.
don't get the. It's literally the same combo too, because if you don't throw in a kick anywhere, it doesn't turn into a combo.
Right. And you could say,
Adding a
okay,
kick to
if
the
I do
punches
6 punches
becomes
in
a
a row,
combo.
then I tire myself out and something happens, whatever that means. But okay, so that
Yep.
tells
Then
me
you're
I'm just gonna add a comment so I
pause.
don't forget about this here.
Perfect.
Need a punch counter. Because they have to
Yeah, some sort
basically,
of punch
yeah,
counter.
everything like that. You need a variable behind the scenes. You're going to have a variable called punch count. Player 1 punch counter, player 2 punch counter, and then as you punch, that's just going to increment up. Add one, add one, add one until you do something else. In which case, that gets reset. So,
Yeah. It should be
um,
like 6 punches, like consecutively though. So it's like
mm-hmm.
if you haven't punched anything for like 2 seconds, the timer gets restarted or something like that.
So
They need to be quick
I'm
into
not
the
worried about the
session
points
punching.
yet. In fact, you can see I'm kind of punting on this partly because we're running out of time. We're gonna have to break in a minute. We're gonna go. We have to
Okay.
renew our lease at the apartment complex, but so we got to do that, before we forget to do it. But that's
Yeah.
also the thing. It's hardest, but it's also the easiest. Like I can implement all these other things without worrying about what does what. And then after the fact,
Yeah.
I go, when a punch is thrown, then take away 10 points, or when a punch kick is thrown, then take away 30 points, or whatever it is. And you
Hmm.
kind of implement that after the fact to some extent. So what I want to do from here is kind of just leave the game logic to be determined in terms of how many points do what and what combinations do what. Not worry about that.
Okay.
Because for me, that's kind of it's important because that's how the game is played, right? But it's also minutia. Like I need players to move around. I need them to be able to punch and to be able to kick
Yeah,
before you can worry about
exactly.
how many points get taken care of. And it's also easy to change after the fact if you decide you want kicking to
Yeah,
be worth 10 points as opposed to 20 points as opposed to
that's what I
whatever.
figured. I
Just
started kind of brainstorming ideas in my
yeah.
notes there, like
What I want to
coming.
hear more of though is this. The question I was about to ask when I noticed you were chiming in is transformation. So in the sprites you sent me, which I love, they look so. In fact, I'm going to pull them up right now. They look beautiful. Like I'm going to pull one
Thank
up
you.
right now. They're so fun. Again, I'm not sure. I'm not sure. Just because I haven't looked, I'm not sure what the dimensions of a Pico 8 sprite is. So we might have to tweak these
Yeah,
based on what fits in.
I didn't realize I'd made Goku's hair by a 9 by accident.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
we'll
yeah,
just have
that's
to take
okay. But to
some
me,
of
it
the
looks like
edges off here.
transformation is kind of all or nothing. It's like you're not transformed and then you are transformed. But I see a gauge here, a yellow gauge for transformation with a max of 100, as you wrote out. So
Yes,
what is transformation? Is it all or nothing? And how does it work?
essentially. So a transformation basically works off like you don't just get to transform right off the bat.
Mm-hmm.
So your transformation gauge would start off uh, empty,
Mm-hmm.
and which we don't even have to have transformations yet, but it is like very key in Dragon Ball Z.
Yeah, yeah, which is
But
essentially
anyways,
you want to do it, right?
yeah, exactly. So you'd start off the level with full health, and you'd maybe have like 20 Kai or less. And Kai is just like how much energy you have
Gotcha.
for doing your big attacks and
Mm-hmm.
stuff. But also, once your Kai bars, and you'd have no transformation energy. But your Kai bar, once your Kai bar gets filled, which you can either fill it by doing combos like punching people, punching
Mm-hmm.
and kicking, like those basic attacks, not
Sure, kind of
energy
like
attacks.
maybe like Rage in World of Warcraft, where you
Yeah,
actually do things, you
yeah,
build up
exactly.
Rage.
Those
Yeah,
will
yeah.
build up your magic or your mana or your
Mm-hmm.
Kai
Yep.
in this case, or charging, which is holding down the left bumper. Your character will sit there and charge. And in those pictures next to Goku and Gohan, and then like when they're going Super Saiyan, they have like that yellow aura around them.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of what happens when they're charging up. They have like that aura appear around them. They charge up. So once your Kai is all the way full, you would have access to go Super Saiyan or to use your, or which would be transforming. You would be able to either transform or use your super attack when your Kai is fully charged. And you could go Super Saiyan and then charge up your Kai and use your super attack
Okay,
as well.
you kind of lost me, and
Okay, yeah.
that's
So
because
let me try
I've
again.
never watched the show, and I've never
Yeah,
played the.
exactly.
So I'm fighting, and I'm building up Kai as I'm fighting.
Yes.
When do I? So my transformation starts at 0 or very low. We're not sure which. How do I build up transformation points?
By transforming. And your transformation points actually count down. And when your transformation points run back to 0, you go back to normal. You go back to your base. It's a short transformation that's a power boost, basically, and you build
Oh,
it up by having a lot of energy. So you have to have your Kai all the way full. And then
okay.
when you transform, it would take up Kai to transform. But then whenever you're transformed, you can charge Kai again, either by punching or charging your Kai like normal, while your transformation bar is ticking down. So you have 0 transformation until you transform, and then you have 100 transformation, but it starts ticking down on a timer. And anytime you use an energy blast, it goes down a little bit faster and just like through time. So you get like 10 seconds
Okay, and
and you're transformed, but you're a little
transformation
bit
changes
powerful.
the abilities that you have.
Not in this game, not with this retro version. It just makes you stronger and faster. So your attacks do a little bit more damage and your speed is boosted.
Gotcha. Okay, so
Would be
let
all.
me repeat that back, and I'm it's possible I've misheard something. So we start out at very low Kai, 0 or low, and we're fighting. We're building up Kai.
Yes.
As we get when
You
that
can,
gets maxed out, you can transform, but you don't have to.
yes.
How?
Yes.
Let me interject a little question. How do you do that? How do you transform?
Select button.
Oh, that's one of the buttons. Okay,
Yep.
I probably answered my own question here. Select transform. Okay, boom, you transform. And once you're transformed, you continue your sprite changes. You have yellow hair or whatever, and you
Yep.
continue to fight as normal while you're transformed, and you're doing more
Yep.
damage because we're building that into the game logic. And just if
Yep.
you're so we would say things like if you hit the A button or whatever button it is, and you're facing the right direction and you're transformed, then do this much damage. If you're not transformed, then do this damage. And while that's
Yep.
happening, this transformation timer it's a timer. It ticks away. You go up to
Yep.
100, and then boom, you're transformed for a finite amount of time to be determined. It just kind of ticks down,
Yep.
and then you go back to normal once you're done being transformed.
Yep.
That sound all right?
Go back to normal. Yep.
Okay,
And
so I need to
also, when
write
you
all that out.
transform, you gain a little bit of health. You gain a little bit of health when you transform as well. Is
Okay,
another thing.
got
And
it.
you can transform multiple times in a match if you get enough Kai for it. There's not like a limit on how many times you can transform. And you can also hit the select button while transform to de-transform if you wanted to.
Got
So
it.
you can end the transformation on your own, but your bar wouldn't go back to 100. Or
Yeah,
well, I
yeah.
guess your bar would just
You
stay
know,
where it's
it's
at, and
funny.
you'd be able to
It's
turn
actually
back on
funny
if
to
you
be on the
wanted.
other side of the desk. Like I remember when I was working with my software engineer friend. I know he was the chief technical officer at Applia, the educational technology startup company we worked at, and the big project we did little projects, but the big project we had to do was to write a program to check logic proofs, which are complicated. They're way more complicated than this. And I knew a ton about logic proofs, and I didn't knew nothing about programming. And he knew a ton about programming and compilers and related things, but didn't really know what logic proofs were. So the first couple times we met, he's like, "Okay, teach me logic proofs. I need to understand how this works." And then so we did a couple of like mock class sessions essentially, where I basically taught the very very quick version of logic proofs, like super accelerated, because he's a smart guy. And then he'd go take a bunch of notes, and he'd go think for a week, work on other stuff, and he'd come back in a week later and say, "Okay, I'm ready to meet again. I've got a few questions for you." And he'd ask a few questions for clarification. Do you want it to work like this or kind of like this, or this is a little unclear? It seemed like you want it both ways here. Which way do we go? Blah 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 blah. And then go disappear for a few days and come back with a couple more questions. And then he finally sent me a prototype. Like, here's the version one. And then like, what do you like and what do you not like? And then it's like, okay. And then
Oh
he'd
my gosh.
disappear for a couple weeks and come back with another version of it. And it's funny to be on the other side of the desk now, where you know all the things about Dragon Ball Z, and you have this terminology
Yeah.
ready to hand, and I have to go, what the hell is a transform?
Yeah. Right.
Or a transformation?
It's great. It's so fun.
So it is
It's
fun.
cool getting to know. So cool introduction for you into Dragon Ball Z too.
It is, and it's fun because this is I've done a little programming, and I've worked on big projects, and I've worked with software engineers. Now it's like my turn to play with the big boys. I get to make a design document. I get to do some programming. This is pretty complicated,
Yes.
This is more
Yeah.
complicated than any other game I've built, even though it's a simple game. So for me, it's a challenge, but not so challenging that I don't think I can do it.
Yeah. I have complete faith in you.
Well,
Yeah. I'm super excited, and
I
I'm
think
gonna
what I'm
keep
going to do
paring it
next,
down.
I'm probably going to spend a little bit of time fleshing out what the heck transformations are, just so I can capture it, so I don't forget it. And
Cool.
then for me, it's like on the scale of easy to difficult things to do, and I'm going to start with the easy things to do. I'm going to start with the screen layout. Like, where's the gaming grid going to be? How many spaces are there to move in our grid, given the layout of the screen?
Yeah.
Let's just do the math and figure out whether it's 8x4 or 7x4 or 8x5 or whatever fits on the screen, right? And
Yeah.
then it's like, okay, and then I need to maybe create a little placeholders for the stat stuff up top, and then start defining the variables. I know I'm gonna need player one health points, player two health points, player one Kai points, player two Kai points. Start defining the
Yep.
variables, and then even if I don't work on the artwork yet, just get a couple of placeholder sprites, an orange square and a purple square and whatever, and see if I can get
Yes.
them moving
That's
around the
exactly what I was thinking.
grid.
Yes.
And then I can go, okay, let's start implementing some really basic fighting mechanics. Let's make these boring pixelated squares punch each other, even if there's nothing visually happening. Let's get it counting
Yeah.
properly, and getting
Yeah.
it working. And then you can go, okay, now let's swap out the sprites with real sprites, and now let's do sprites that have different versions for punching and kicking, getting them looking right. And now we've got a game. Even if it's the
Yeah.
dumbest, simplest game, it's a working game.
I'm excited.
And then we go, okay, now we need to work on how the hell transformation works, or now we work on the combo moves or whatever. But I think if I approach it that way, I can build it very modular, where at every stage we have a working game.
Cool.
Because what
Yeah, I
really
like the
sucks
sound
is
of
when
that.
you like, say I'm working on this really hard stuff, like the game logic stuff. If I work on that so much, I never have anything to show on the screen. I want to be able to see it and mess with
Yeah.
it, and then go, okay, do we
Exactly.
like the layout? Do we like the way the characters move around the screen? Or but we can play it, even if it's just punching, we can play it.
Uh-huh.
Um, I,
Yeah, they gave me an idea. I know we were talking about playing retro games, and I definitely want to do that, but I think that it could be fun to play the game that I'm kind of basing this off of with
Oh,
you,
sure, that'd be fun.
and
Be
then you
educational.
see Sparking Zero. Yeah, I
And
have
there's
Sparking
a PC version of it.
I probably, I don't know. I don't really know that much about it, to be honest. I bought the
I don't
Xbox
have
X.
I don't have a console. I just have a PC right now.
Yeah. So,
I can't afford a console either right now. I'm Uber driving for money. I can't afford to buy a gaming console right now.
oh yeah, not an
Also,
Xbox
we
X.
can't sell a Dragon Ball Z game. Obviously, this is just a passion project. You know, obviously, we're not making
Yeah.
this to sell it because we don't own Dragon Ball Z. So
Yeah. Yeah. If we sold it to anybody, it would have to be Toriyama or whoever owns Dragon Ball Z.
exactly.
Which I would love for them to see it and like it and not be mad at us.
Well, this I was reading about Pico 8 a little bit, and apparently you can display these games once they're done on a website. You can export them as an HTML5 game, and you can throw it on a website, and people can just play it online, which is awesome. Although multiplayer is a totally different thing. Getting two players that aren't sitting next to each other playing the game, that's a whole other level of complicated. So as of right now, these two players are gonna have to be sitting at the same computer. Also, you can export them as virtual cartridges that are oddly enough saved as PNG files, which is an image file of all things. That's really weird to me. So, also, there's a max of 16 colors, so we're gonna have to be really judicious in our use of colors.
Yeah, I saw the color squares. I just didn't use those as a reference
Yeah,
yet.
yeah,
But
that's
I
okay.
will like because they had like -6 and 12 like numbers, so I'm just gonna number them and do a little color by number for you.
Yeah, yeah, I love it. I think that's all the questions I have for now. I think I probably will have more once I've built a little bit.
Okay.
I'm excited. This is a great project. I like that it's retro, like I like. I'm not familiar with this kind of game, so I get to learn a lot along the way. I would say, don't be too optimistic. I've never made one of these, so you might have something in mind, and you might get the super simple version of it from me because that's what I know how to build. So.
Perfect. And there's always room to grow from there.
Yeah, exactly. But I've always thought it'd be fun to just make, like everyone who plays games. If you play games enough, eventually you go, God, I want to make one of these because someone had to make these games, right? So why can't we make one?
Right. I have so many ideas about making games. Yeah, I just haven't got into the coding part of things. I've been too focused on music.
Well, I think if you're logically inclined, and I would say music has its own logic, right? You've got counting and fractions, and it's got its own symbology to it and music notation. And if you're inclined to that kind of thing, I don't think programming is a leap. But I think the essential thing in programming is your ability to break things down in terms of if then statements. If this, given the state of the game, if these conditions are met, then do this. If these different conditions are met, then do this. And if you can spell that out very granularly, very accurately, very logically, programming's a breeze.
Okay.
If you can't do that,
definitely makes
if you
it sound
struggle
less
to do that,
simple.
like some people just don't think that way very well, and if you struggle with that, then programming is going to be really hard. Because you can see basically what I'm going to do. Like if I'm punching, I'm gonna what are the conditions that have to be met? Like if our two players are next to each other, condition one, the players have to be next to each other. You have to be facing the right way. The button has to be pressed. Okay, so those are the conditions. Maybe more conditions I haven't thought of yet, but whatever the conditions are, test for those and then do something. Change the sprite to look like it's punching and subtract 10 points from the other player's health and whatever else happens. Increase your chi value, all the things that follow from that. So if you can spell that very complicated if then statement line by line by line based on all the things that you want to have happen in the game, that's the lion's share of it. Then the rest is just control flow. Like, okay, what's the first thing that happens when you load the game? Maybe the players are prompted to select which character they want to play. Okay, so you have to program that. And once that's accomplished, flag that as done. If that's done, then go into the game, start the timer, do the whatever. And if you can enumerate all of that, then programming is not too hard. It's just a matter of learning how to write it in the language you've got.
That's so cool.
Have you done any programming at all?
Sounds good. Not really. Kind of. I don't even know or remember why I understand it. I did some sort of studying of programming at some point, but Yeah, I've never actually utilized it, but I have a firm enough understanding to where I was like, oh, that seems pretty simple. I could probably do that someday. But I just haven't gone the next step of being like, all right, I'm going to do that today.
Well, I'm not a programmer, but I've been working with programmers for a long time, and maybe I am a programmer now. I'm doing programming, therefore I'm a programmer, right?
Yeah.
But
That's
one of the
what I
basic concepts that is used in modern programming is this thing called model view control. And the model is like the
mm.
mathematical model of what's going on behind the scenes, all the variables that keep track of the things that are important to keep track of. Like, for example, in this case, what are the things you need to keep track of while the game is being played? You need to keep track of the XY coordinates of the players, which grid the player is in, right? So you need variables
Yeah.
for that. That's part of the model. If we need to keep track of how many punches have been thrown, that's a variable that gets, it's got a value. That's part of the mathematical model. So you have this complicated mathematical model with basically just a lot of
Yeah.
variables, essentially. And then that's the model. And then you have the view. Based on the state of the game, what is displayed on the screen? It's the rules that describe how things are displayed, what's shown to the user. And then there's the control, how inputs and outputs are processed. And you can see how these little loops happen. You've got a mathematical model, it gets displayed on the screen a certain way. You're checking for inputs. When an input happens, you update the model, which changes the variables, and then the screen is redrawn and you get a different view. Rinse, repeat, rinse, repeat, rinse, repeat 30 times a second. And so
So crazy.
yeah, so the very first thing I'm going to do, like I'm going to sit down and go, what are all the variables I'm going to need? And give them initial values. Chi is 0 or maybe 20, and transformation is 0, and health is at 100 or 150, whatever numbers we said. And what are the initial positions of the players? Got to figure that out. So what are their initial XY coordinates? What's the initial timer value? 99 seconds or whatever it is, right? And then all that's part of the initial model. And I try to be as comprehensive as you can be. What are all the things you're going to need, right? And then work on getting something on the screen in response to that, and then start worrying about what happens when the player does something, hits a button or a combination of buttons. And then you can do those if then statements that basically all they do is basically update the variables, and then something gets redrawn. So if that makes sense, it's really not complicated. It's just a matter of fleshing it all out. If that sounds confusing and challenging, it is, but it's also not too bad. But if it's that's the kind of thing you have to wrap your head around to be able to program. I think. Here's the state of the game, what's shown, what happens when a player does something, how does that affect all the variables?
That's so sick.
Yeah, but it's not hard.
Helping me wrap my mind around it.
It's amazing I can explain it so
This is a
elegantly.
good
Actually,
project to wrap my mind around it.
and most of my programming experiences with this kind of thing, making visual things on the screen, is a whole category of programming that doesn't involve things on the screen, right? But I like games, and I like making pretty things on the screen. So that's where most of my programming experience gravitates towards. So. Do you have any questions based on anything that you've? I'm going to share this document with you, but
I did have one question.
Yeah.
So the map size you were saying could be 128 by 128.
Yeah.
Is that like for the entire game fits within that 128? So like the start screen and everything is all somewhere hidden within there, or is it like
I
each
think
screen goes to
it's
throughout
more.
the different menus?
Yeah, it's more.
Sorry.
It's more like you've got a fixed. Just like if I'm looking at a computer monitor right now, and it's got 1,024 pixels by whatever it is,
Okay.
1,000. So there's a certain number of pixels on your playing field, so to speak. And then things change. You open a menu, and some of those pixels change, and you go from one
Okay.
application to another, and those pixels all change, right? But the number of pixels on the screen is fixed on my computer monitor. Same thing. So if this is like a virtual console, you've got basically a square gaming area, not a playing area, but a square screen, for lack of a better word, and you've got big chunky pixels, 128 by 128, and those are the little squares you have to work with. So you could have, when the game first starts, the whole thing might just be a character selection screen, boom, 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 but that's what's going to be on your 128 by 128 pixels. And then when the game starts, that goes away, and you get your playing field on the bottom and your gauges on top, but all of it has to fit within 128 by 128 pixels at any given moment.
Perfect. Heard. Okay, so then my next question is, so I'm wanting to basically make the map, like draw out a map, but depending on how much pixel space I have to draw, because I want the playing space to be like that 4x8 grid for the characters to fly around in. But I'm wondering if it's possible to like zoom into those squares basically and have like an 8x8 grid within each of those squares on that grid, but our characters still stay in it like it's a 4x8 grid, even though it's like 8 times that, whatever that would be, like 32x64 grid, if
Let
that
me
makes sense. But
let me think for a minute. So
I'm trying to figure out the best way to word it.
yeah, I have the little mock-up of the 4x8 grid on the screen right now. So you're saying rather than the action taking place, trying to think how to describe this. So the action doesn't take place on this grid. The action takes place within one of these squares. And so okay, so let's say this is these squares in this grid are not the playing field. These are the map. And
Yeah.
and you're actually the two characters are within one of these squares at any given point, and they're fighting within a scene within one of these squares. Is that kind of what you mean?
No.
No. Okay.
So I'm kind of imagining like this is still the map, that 4x8 grid that we're seeing there,
Mm-hmm.
and our avatars, they would be each taking up their own grid space on that grid.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm wanting to do for the background just the art, like not a
Just
playable space, but just so to give me more pixels to draw in, like more creative art space in the background. Could each of those spaces that the character is standing in actually be an 8x8 grid for the purpose of the map in the background to give me more pixels to color? But then it'd be like every 8x8 grid is one square for the characters, and the characters are the size of
yeah. So
an 8x8 square instead
are
of
you
a
looking at my
1x1.
screen right now?
Yeah.
So yeah. So imagine, even though it's drawn as a rectangle here, this will probably be more like a square. So imagine this little area here. You might get a little delay, but I'm tracing the outline of it. This is 128 by 128. This whole square that I'm tracing right now. And then
Okay.
and then yeah, these squares might be 8x8 or 16x16, whatever. I don't know yet. Whatever the math works out. But within that, you can draw as a background anything you want, as long as it fits in 128 by 128 pixels. And if you want to draw a cool background or something, absolutely.
Yeah, I was thinking 4 maps basically, like 3 different basic places that are in most of the games, and then like a training room.
Do you mean by map? Do you mean like backdrop?
Yeah, just backdrop.
Oh yes,
Exactly,
that's
backdrop.
yeah, no problem.
Nothing too fancy.
You can draw anything you want, as long as it's
Okay,
128
cool.
by 128 little squares.
Okay,
Actually, not even
okay.
120. It'd be 128 wide. Let me play with making the grid first, because there might be a border around it. It might, I don't know how many, because if
cool.
the top third of it is going to be stats, I don't know exactly how many yet, but at some point I should be able to give you a number, like the background should be 125 by 70 pixels or something.
Perfect. I'll just wait until that, and then I'll start
but that's
coloring out
you can add that in almost at any point, because you can just throw that in as a separate layer as a background, and that's the thing I'm least concerned about, because it's so easy to just add in whenever.
Cool. Yeah, it was just something that I was like, as the artist and me and my love for Dragon Ball Z world, I was like, ooh,
think about what this means, though.
Fight?
Basically, if you're moving around the screen, because every time you're moving, you're basically redrawing something over what's already there. Basically, what you do is 30 times a second, the screen is cleared, the background is redrawn, and the players and the animations are drawn on top of the background. But that's happening 30 times a second. Every time there's a change to the game, it clears the screen, redraws the background, and redraws the players.
That's so nuts.
Yeah, so that's the first thing, when in the main drawing loop, so to speak, the very first thing I would do would be like clear the screen and draw the background, whatever map you want. And maybe there's a map selection, maybe it changes by round, who knows, right?
Cool. Yeah,
that's actually probably some
of
the easiest thing to add in.
Cool.
But
I love hearing all that.
If it's changing, like if the player has to select a map in addition to selecting the characters, it'd be good to know that beforehand, so you can build that into the start screen.
That's what I was thinking, is you'd be able to choose, your character, choose which map you fight on, and then choose the time.
Got it.
Choose if there's going to be a time on or not.
I love it.
And those should be the only things you really pick It'd be
Yeah,
fun to do different color outfits, like different outfits,
but
but it's so
you can
small
see,
right
you know,
now.
when you say when the player chooses the time, you go, okay, how do you do that? Do you choose from you know, do you choose from some pre-selected options, 30-second rounds, 90-second rounds, 2-minute rounds,
Yes.
or do you type in a number? What's the mechanic whereby you enter
No,
how long you know you do that? So everything you mentioned raises other questions, right?
I have that figured out too.
Awesome.
Which I mean, whenever we're at that part. But yeah,
Well, I think
I have
what I'm gonna
answers.
do, we're gonna go to lunch, and so we're gonna break here in
Perfect.
just a second. But I want to flesh out the things we talked about a little bit, like how transformation works and whatnot. And
Cool.
then I want to actually get out of this design document and start building something. I want to start building this grid
Cool.
and see if I can get you know, even just if it's a square sprite moving around the grid, at least that's progress. So.
Yeah, I love it. I love the sound of it.
Yeah,
Okay,
so
cool.
I may be
Enjoy
back
your
to
lunch.
stream a little later this afternoon. We've got Susan's daughter has a performance this evening, so we're probably gonna call it a day around 5 p.m. and get ready to go to that. So if I have time to come back and work on this, I'll do another stream and you can see me actually work on it. But I've never used
Cool.
Preview 8, so I have to download it. I got to get it set up. So I might stream the whole thing just for documentation purposes and for fun. But
Yeah,
I've never worked in it before. It's a new environment for me, so there's going to be a little bit of a learning
for
curve,
sure.
getting up to speed on how that environment works, and then I can start churning away at it. So
That's so cool.
yeah, it's so
Yeah,
much
it looks
fun.
great. I love what I saw from it so far.
Well,
It
this was
looks
really
good.
helpful, and you know, I love the graphics. It's made it so easy to visualize from the beginning. I think you're a visual thinker like I am, and so
Thanks.
I hate documents like this.
Yeah,
They're necessary, but I rather look at the pretty things, and that's why as soon as
yeah,
possible
drawing
I want to actually
yourself.
start building things.
Oh, I wanted to tell you, Goku and Gohan are father and son. Goku is Gohan's dad.
Oh, okay, that explains
That's
why
why
they
they
look
go
so similar. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and then Piccolo trains Gohan. That's why Gohan is wearing the same outfit as Piccolo.
Got it.
So just a little lore.
I'd say, you know, at very least, you got a feature in pixel art. These are great.
Thank you.
So we can
The
start a pixel
Summer
art
is
company if
Lunch
we can't start a
company
game company,
inspired
you know?
me. I do really enjoy this kind of art quite
I
a
do
bit.
too. I always have. Not everyone does. Like my best friend Julia, she hates this kind of art. She just thinks it was crappy then,
It's
it's
just,
crappy now. She hates it.
oh, I love it so much.
Yeah, I'm glad
Yeah.
because this is where my aesthetic veers towards as well. Both in the games I like to play at retro games and the things that I have the actual ability to build. I can't make a 3D world game, but I could make this. You know.
Yeah, this is great. This is what I want to build too. I like the
Likewise.
doing like a modern game but making it retro.
Yeah, yeah.
I think is a really cool idea.
Unfortunately, you can't sell those, but it's fun to make. So at a certain point, we should make something we can
Yeah,
actually sell. But
yeah, well, we could do that too.
well, I'm
I
gonna
think this
let
will get the juices flowing. Yeah, enjoy.
I'm gonna have to let you go because we got to go renew this lease. But let's
Yeah.
maybe reconvene later this afternoon. Maybe not, depending on whether you're busy or not and how much time I've got. But I'll let you know if I come back to stream. And I think I will stream when I actually start working on it, whether or not you're available. Just because it's fun to document it and
Yeah.
fun to kind of
Yeah, I'll watch it even if I don't watch it right
yeah.
away. I'll
It'll be
jump in there and
recorded
check
on
it
my
out
YouTube
probably.
channel as well. So
Perfect.
yeah, again, there's nothing
Cool.
secret about
Thanks.
this game. This is not like a super secret get us rich project. This is a passion project. So
Yes, exactly. If anything, I hope that it inspires people and Dragon Ball doesn't, get mad.
oh
They would
yeah, worst
rather
case
be like,
they
oh,
send us
this
a cease and
is
desist
cool.
order,
And,
right? No big deal.
yeah, they stop making that. Or
All
just
right,
stop doing it publicly.
I will. I'll ping you later if I end up streaming later.
Perfect. Thank you.
All right, remember to log out of
Yeah.
Discord too. It's easy to forget to sign out of the chat channel, so remember to do that, and then I'm gonna end the stream here.
Oh, I gotta sign out. How do I do that?
There's like a little hang up or disconnect button. It looks like a little old-fashioned telephone receiver. On my screen, it's on the bottom left of the screen. Somewhere in the voice chat, there should be a hang up button. Disconnect, it's called.
Oh, gosh.
I can kick you out too. It's my channel, so if you want, I can just
Oh,
kick you
yeah,
out.
that could work.
You want me to do that?
Yeah. Go ahead and kick me out. Yeah.
Okay.
This is my first.
All right, I'm disconnecting you right now. I'll talk to you soon.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.
Talk to you later, maybe.